This is a Two Front podcast. Who doesn't want to be taught?
Who doesn't want to be taught? Losers.
Today, I am very excited to have a renowned periodontist, Dr. Mike Sonick, on our show.
I look at every complication as an opportunity to grow my business. I think it's terrible to motivate people with fear. Most people leave the dentist and don't go through treatment because of their fear and their anxiety. And they have fear and anxiety because they don't trust you. They don't trust you because you're acting like a doctor, not a human being.
He's thinking about his business as a business when most dentists don't think about their practice as a business. Mike's taken everything from the business world and applied it to dentistry.
Hospitality is that little extra special part that goes on top. I know what it's like to be a patient. I have 23 crowns, I've lost 9 teeth, I've had multiple accidents. And I know what it's like to sit in that chair. It's really being there and being present for the patient. So you look at them, they look at you, and you connect immediately. Usually within 90 seconds, it's usually less, they're gonna know that they're in the right place. If they feel that you have their best interest in mind, be the gift to the people you serve. The money will take care of itself.
You got a crooked smile, well that don't bother me much. You double over working double time, you double tough. I'll just shine it up until the sun hit like a glare. I gotta dare, get the fuck up out the chair.
Welcome back to The Happy Dentist. Today, I am very excited to have a renowned periodontist, Dr. Mike Sonick, on our show. Christian, why don't you go ahead and introduce Dr. Sonick, since you guys have a long history together?
For sure. Great pleasure. Honestly, a great pleasure to have Mike here for several reasons. Of course, everybody on the perio implant world knows Mike is a well-known speaker since many, many years on that environment, created a huge reputation on this area. And on top of that, has an amazing, successful practice for real. That probably inspired him to write the book that is going to be one of the main topics here today. His book, Treating People, Not Patients, that is actually focused on hospitality. Mike has always been a super, super cool, nice guy and friend. And he invited me to lecture on his teaching center and also to work with him in his practice many years ago. And I was able to experience the environment, the people, the charisma, how cool it was to just hang out with his team at that time. And I completely understood when he decided to write this book because he was already doing it for real. And since it's a topic that is dear to my heart, we've been talking about emotional dentistry on the same area as well. I was very, very happy when the book came out, and I think it's a must read for dentists all over the world. So for me, it's an honor to have Mike here, dear friend, a mentor, and somebody that for sure will add a lot of value to our listeners.
Okay. Thank you for a nice introduction, Christian.
Mike, so why don't we kick off? I would love to just hear what prompted you. Obviously, you had this incredible culture at your practice. What prompted you to write your book?
Well, I've been practicing the principles in the book, pretty much my entire career. I started off with this 600 square foot empty space. And everyone told me not to open up because there were 5 periodontists in town. And my town's 65,000 people. So they said, don't open there. And I opened there because it was my hometown and I wanted to. So I did everything, like Christian, I like to design things, so I designed the office. I built my own office. I put the own artwork in. I just swung a hammer, I grew up that way. So I liked it. I've been in the restaurant business. I played cocktail piano. I was a bartender. I worked in fine restaurants. I've done all sorts of things in hospitality, and I'm just into it to begin with. I just like good service. And so I built my office like that way. And when Zagat's came out and they started looking at different restaurants, and they reviewed them by the decor, the service, and the food. I started saying, that's a good model, but I'm going to do it dentistry, the service and the decor. So it's just like what I like to see. So I can't walk into a restaurant. If I get a bad vibe, I'm walking out. And it's an immediate, they talk about it. It's like that blink thing. So when COVID came along, I've been talking about it, and I started telling my patients I'm going to write this book. And my lectures became more about, I talk about implants, but what really bothered me was the was the dentists and healthcare professionals weren't really caring for the people that they serve. They wanted to do the big case. They take Christian's course and they come back, or Kyle's course, and go, I want to do that. I want to be that great dentist. But there's a lot of steps that they were missing along the way. And one of the steps was connecting with the human beings they serve. So then
Did
when
you
COVID hit,
always know how important this was in dentistry? Because it sounds like you had this hospitality experience before dentistry.
Yeah.
You go to dental school, you go to residency, you get out, you start your own practice. Did you know, like, listen, I need to really focus on hospitality, if that's what you're going to call it, personal connection? Did you know, or did it take a few years to figure that out?
I didn't know, I just did it.
I love the honesty, by the way.
No, I did know that I used when I opened my practice, I mean, I had nothing. I mean, my first year, I grossed $35,000. Grossed.
Wow.
Okay, my overhead was 125. That was 1985, but that wasn't a lot of money. And that was a few $100,000. My office looked beautiful. People thought I was from a rich family, but I went to the bank, and at the time, the bank was giving me money. I mean, a lot of money at the time, 250,000. Today, that's not as much, but still a significant amount when you have nothing. And I wanted to be good at my craft. And I started working in the mall just to make a living because I needed to have an income so I can open up my boutique practice. I wanted to have a boutique practice, but I didn't know what that meant. It was just really serve people well. And my mom said, this was before DSOs. My mom says, why don't you open up mall practices? They look lucrative. And I'm thinking like, yeah, I could make money, but I'm going to lose my soul. And so I started telling people, I was like 32. I said, I'm going to be well known and I'm going to lecture all over the world and I'm going to know people. The first time I met Bert Langer and Dave Garber, I shook my hand. I didn't wash my hand for a week. I said, I want to know people, And I think you're the same way, I mean, these people like these legends, I think we all love these legends, but the younger people, they go on Instagram, they go, oh, I'm going to do that. And that's it. And so I really wanted to become one of those people, and I knew I had to connect with them, and then I knew I had to connect with my patients, and people thought I was really cocky. And then it came to me 25 years later. They go, you said this 25 years ago, but that was my vision, to have the boutique practice. I didn't realize the importance of hospitality. And still I started lecturing, and people would ask me questions. I realized they're asking me the wrong questions. They just wanted to learn what suture, what bone graft to use, how do I do this? And it was they were missing some the things. And when Christian started talking about the human connectivity, the emotional dentistry, I said, that's I related to that. I mean, you were trying to teach what you did naturally, because Christian, you're a natural connector. I mean, when I met you initially, you were a laboratory technician, back then, still are. I met you then, and I immediately said, oh, this is a cool guy. He connected, and I saw you at your first big lecture. I go, this guy's going to be a superstar at the AO when you drew those pictures of the smile up there. And that's my greatest skill is meeting people who are going to be famous in dentistry before they're famous. Kobe Frank Spear.
That's good. You need to invest in them somehow.
Yeah, there's no
stock.
there's no investment for that.
Within 5 minutes of us meeting over Zoom, I felt like we really connected because you mentioned that one of the key books that influenced you is Danny Meyer's book, Setting the Table.
Right.
I actually went to culinary school before I went to dental school because I love food and I love hospitality, and I worked at a bunch of his restaurants in New York. So I'm curious how that influenced did you read that book while you were practicing or while you were reading your book, or how did that influence you?
I read the book when it came out. And it's in his introduction of his book. So I've always gone to Danny Meyer's restaurants. So I love to go to restaurants. I cook, I like food, like all of us do. And it's just fun, that experience. And so I looked at, and my connection with Danny Meyer, I have a few of them, but we both opened up our businesses in 1985. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I joke around when I'm lecturing, because Danny Meyer's is worth like 900 million now. It's like almost a billionaire. So I joke that he's worth $1 billion. After Shake Shack went public, and then I pause and I'll say to the audience, I go, I'm only worth 60 million. And then they all look at me and they get really nervous, like, he's worth 60 million as a dentist.
Kyle, Christian, have you guys been to his restaurants?
I
Not
don't know
me.
if I have.
Yeah.
You don't even have, okay, so like Gramercy Tavern is my favorite. Mike, what
Me
about
too.
yours?
My favorite.
No way.
Yeah.
No way. You've got to go. There's no experience like it. There's no, and Mike, I'm super curious, like how you would describe why it was such an amazing, why it is such an amazing, unforgettable experience.
Well, what he did was, when he opened his restaurant in 1985, there were a lot of well-known restaurants that were very, very exclusive. And Cote Basque, I can't remember the other names right now. They're not in the business anymore. But you'd go in there and it was white glove service. It was very formal and it was stiff. And you'd spend a lot of money, but it was like you had to be on your best behavior at the restaurant, and it was expensive. So Danny Meyer, when he opened up his restaurant, which was Union Square Cafe in '85, he opened it up in not a very good neighborhood because Union Square at the time was a drug shooting gallery at night. And he really wanted to make the food less costly, but really good, but give a really unique experience to his guests. So he wanted to make it casual, but really high end. And so he took it and created a very big relationship there. And he would do anything possible. He still does to give people a great experience. And he created a lot of unique processes in his restaurant that his book is now the Bible for every other restaurateur. You go to any great restaurant anywhere in the world and you say, have you heard of Danny Myers? Have you read the book? And they go, of course I have it. It's the Bible. They've read it. And so that's my favorite restaurant. Actually, my second favorite's in Boulder, Colorado. It's called Frasca by a guy named Bobby Stuckey. And when I met him, I talked to him about Danny Meyer. He goes, oh, of course, he's the best. And when
So how do we take what he's doing in his restaurants and apply that to our dental offices?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, first of all, you got to realize that it's important or feel that it's important.
Yeah, self-awareness, number one, right?
Yeah, so I know you talk a lot about that, and
Mhm.
it's really important. Self-awareness is important. You got to get really honest. So most people are dishonest, and they not because they lie or they want to lie. They just not comfortable looking at certain things that are very painful. And that's probably been one of my greatest lessons was the more vulnerable and open I am with my patients, the more comfortable they are talking to me. And so am I going to be comfortable and vulnerable, or am I going to try to sell them? I have a friend, well, I don't know if he is a friend, but I disagree with his philosophy. He wants patients to go home, he's a periodontist, after he examines them, because he tells them if they don't treat their periodontal disease, they're going to die of a heart attack. He uses fear to motivate them. Because then they come back for the second consult and they do the laser treatment. I think it's terrible to motivate people with fear. I want to make people feel comfortable. Because I know what it's like to be a patient. I have 23 crowns. I've lost 9 teeth. I've had multiple accidents. And I know what it's like to sit in that chair. And very rarely do I get a good experience as a patient anywhere. Very few people do. So when you give patients that great experience, they're going to love to come back. If you have an understanding for that, and it's not just giving somebody a rose on their birthday, and it's more than that. It's or putting them in a massage chair or something like that. It's really being there and being present for the patient. So you look at them, they look at you, and you connect immediately. And usually within 90 seconds, it's usually less, they're going to know that they're in the right place if they feel that you have their best interest in mind.
And
So
you
it's
talked
it's
about
really an ethical decision.
you talked about vulnerability, and we talked about that in our last episode, which is showing that charisma is the balance between vulnerability and invincibility. When you talk about connecting with patients and being vulnerable, what exactly do you mean?
What I mean is that if I come on like the Wizard of Oz, okay, like you're Dorothy going down and you expect somebody to heal you behind the curtain, the guy behind the curtain is just a dentist, that happens to have some skills with scaling and root planing or smile design or whatever you do. That's all I am. I'm just someone that knows something about that they don't know about, and I show them that's who I am. And when a patient will come in and they will say, "I need this," I'll just throw up a PowerPoint presentation and show them what it actually looks like when the bone is exposed and all that. I just take the whole facade away. I make it seem like it's just really routine, which it is for me, not for
Yeah.
them. And so they're less fearful. Most people leave the dentist and don't go through treatment because of their fear and their anxiety. And they have fear and anxiety because they don't trust you. They don't trust you because you're acting like a doctor, not a human being. So I'm not trying to be, I do need to be a doctor so they trust me that I have the skill, but I also have to be a human being. So they go, this is a human being that happens to be a doctor that I can trust. And it's not,
For
yeah. Go ahead.
me, I kind of learned this the hard way when I first started. I mean, everybody's young when they come out of dental school, but I got into like the high end. We bought a practice a few years out of dental school. I looked fairly young, and I didn't have all this gray like I have now. And I never really talked to patients about complications because I was worried that they wouldn't do treatment with me. And then after I went through burnout, I started being very good about setting boundaries, setting very low expectations, and got a lot better at communicating them. And what I found was that the more I talked to patients about complications, the more they trusted me, not less they trusted me,
Right.
the more they referred me. And what that did is set me up so that if I did have complications, it's not like my complication rate changed, but they came back in a better mood. They expected it. They expected that they would have to pay something. It completely changed my, selfishly, my anxiety, my stress by being more vulnerable at the beginning, which I thought was a detriment. I thought I wanted to come in and look like this superhero dentist, but no, I I came down from being, I'm this dentist, I know everything, you're this patient, you know nothing, to we're just two humans. And just like you said, Mike, I just happen to know how to do dentistry.
Right. Yeah.
You know that sinking feeling when the same patient keeps coming back for crown after crown? Yeah, we've all been there. Here's the thing. What if we could actually prevent all that mess with a simple bite correction? That's where we come in at Two Front. We handle the whole Invisalign process for you. I'm talking zero ClinChecks, zero lab bills, barely any chair time. Oh, and we take on the liability too. Your patient gets a healthy bite that'll save them thousands down the road. You get to be the hero who prevented years of dental drama. It's honestly a no-brainer. Check out Two Front and start helping your patients dodge a lifetime of dental work today. Mike, I'm super curious. It's obviously a lot harder for a dentist to have the same level of hospitality as a Danny Meyer's restaurant, where the three things that he worries about is the quality of the food, the service, and the aesthetics of the restaurant, right? We have way more than that. We have a customer who doesn't actually want our product. So I know that you basically just wrote out like you wrote the Danny Meyer's book of dentistry. How do you change a formula for dentists when all of our patients are anxious?
Well, I think by giving them, it's a really good question. And I think like they don't come there because they want it, but they do want it. No, I don't force anybody to come in my door. We're pretty much self-referred. People come in because they want to get fixed or they want a good experience. I have patients that come into our office and they don't need any treatment. But about 30% of my patients, I tell them they don't need any treatment. So I'm not really looking to make a sale. I'm looking to give them good value and keep them healthy. So our practice is really based upon, let me get you healthy and put you in a hygiene room and never see you again, except to check you and tell you everything's okay. I don't want most dentists and I'm going to be quite frank. Most dentists go to the hygiene room to find dentistry to do. I don't. If there's dentistry to do in the hygiene room, I think I failed them because I didn't teach them proper hygiene. I didn't get them on a recall, et cetera. So by giving them a great experience, whether it's dentistry or it's a restaurant, because most restaurants, you don't get a good experience. Most of them, you get service. You don't get hospitality. They cook the hamburger at the medium. They put it in front of you. They'll cross over you. And then, if you ask for ketchup, baby will come out, in the Danny Meyer's restaurant, it comes out with the ketchup, and then they go, could you have some more ketchup? And before you even say, somebody else is going to deliver it besides that waiter. That's kind of care you're going to get. I was just at the Ritz-Carlton in Atlanta, and I said something to somebody at the table, and all of a sudden I got service from somebody because they just renovated their whole way they did customer service. Unbelievable experience there. We can give those unbelievable experiences in dental offices. The simplest thing to do is clean your office. Most offices are filthy. Okay, it's disgusting. I do a quick site check. I look at everything all the time. I just have a little OCD that way. I look at everything. Everybody on this call has the same thing. My spices are alphabetized. My socks drawers are very neat. I mean, I know how detailed Christian is. I know him best out of the three of us. But most dentists are sort of detailed when they do the work, but their offices are pigsties. There's no toilet paper in the bathroom. There's just trash outside there. The mat that leaves in the office is not there. If it's there, it's crooked. Like today, okay, I have promoted somebody in my office to chief of hospitality and customer experiences. So someone's job is just to give good experiences. I said to her today, I go, isn't Christmas over? So we did this whole Christmas decorations, and we have these red bows when I walk into my office on these two little pine trees. She goes, yeah. I go, do you like to have decorations up till February? I go, get the decorations. She goes, I like them up to February. I go, well, I don't. Get them off. Christmas is over. It looks like we're outdated already. It's time to move on to the next season. So every little detail I look at, and I'm annoying. Okay. Danny Myers talks about it, says you got to move the salt shaker back to the center of the table. You want to organize things, but somebody has to do it. And I talked to my team about it. I go, when I'm not here, because I'm 71, when I'm not here in a few years, I go, who's going to move the salt shaker back? I go, somebody. You always have to have somebody in your team doing that. And when you have, and in my book, I talk about, I give a checklist of like decor, check for this, customer service, check for this.
So going to that point, Mike, if you could break down hospitality into main components,
Yep.
main chapters, like the pieces of the puzzle, what would be the main things that you need to put together to generate a comprehensive, high quality hospitality experience?
Well, it's everything. It's everything that someone sees and everything that somebody experiences. It's a very broad topic. And that's why there's only one Danny Meyer. And it's very hard for restaurants to open up. There are 8,600 restaurants in Manhattan, and Danny Meyer had 3 of the top 30. I mean, that's amazing. And he's in and Gramercy Tavern's 40 years old, okay? Almost 40 years old, like 35 years old, and is still one of the top restaurants. How does he maintain that? And I think it's you look at the 3 components. The dentistry, of course, has to be good, and you have to pay attention. You have to have integrity. You have to have a nice looking office. And it doesn't have to be expensive. It just has to be neat and clean. And there are a lot of little things. Like I mean, do any of you have a menu in your reception area of what they can order? So I mean, we have call. I think you did it. I think you did in Brazil. You talked about they could sit outside in a cafe and have coffee. We have a menu of Starbucks coffee, decaf, regular, bottled water, carbonated water, herbal teas. It's simple. Just put it there because we all have that stuff. We have aromatherapy that's going in there. We have 20 different magazines. They're all up to date. That's there. We have staff members that could greet everybody by their name. If you want to give hospitality, you have to be another great book is one of Danny Meyer's mentees. I'm sure you've probably read it. It's called Unreasonable Hospitality. It's Will Guidara. And he talks about you have to customize your service for every patient that comes in. It has to be unique. It can't be cookie cutter. And that's why I hire people that know how to relate to other people. And we were talking before we got on, can you teach hospitality? And I
Yeah,
think
that was kind of my next question is, can you teach it, and how do you find and hire people that will take your vision and continue it?
yeah, those are 2 questions. Okay,
Yeah,
first of all, you have to have the vision of who you want working there.
right.
And can you teach it? Yes, but not everybody's teachable. So my partner, Ray Ma, has been with me for 11 years. He was born in communist mainland China on the North Korean border. He came here speaking broken English. He knew nothing about hospitality, and he's phenomenal today. But, I had dinner with him 2 nights ago, and he goes, "Even 5 years ago, I didn't get it." He goes, "5 years ago, I was more concerned about, this and this." He goes, "I really didn't look at the whole picture." So I think it starts with your vision of what you want it to look like. And then can you teach it? And one of the few things the things about hospitality is providing more value than the money you receive. So you want to go above and beyond. And, like Christian came out, he gave me tremendous value years ago. And I think he knows that because he's seen my presentations, they've changed. He taught me, we spent a few weekends together, and he went for my presentations and he ripped them apart, and it was in a nice way. Uh, my level went up. Okay. The only thing he didn't get me to do was go to Mac. I'm still using I'm still using Windows, and everybody else is telling me to go to Mac, but I won't. I mean, it's too late. Too late. I'm an old dog. Okay? But it's really giving people that unique experience, and you have to say to your team that you want to be able to do this. So my team's been with me for a long time, but since I started teaching this course, they now look at my videos every Wednesday because I do a 5-minute video on YouTube. It's raised. So they no longer in the dental care business. We're no longer in healthcare. We're in a hospitality business, but we happen to do dentistry. And that's the way they look at themselves. Every day, I want everyone in my office to give every patient a wow experience. Find every patient that walks in there. Bring your dog to the back. Yeah, bring your dog in. That's fine. It's great to have the dog there. I'm new in town. Oh, do you need a doctor? Do you need a restaurant? Do you need a chiropractor? You're depressed. Oh, I have a great therapist. I have a great acupuncturist. We have a list of top doctors. But you're all both on my list. So if somebody's out in California, your name's on the list, so I know where to refer them to. Patients call me all the time. So I look for ways to make people feel special and unique. So can it be taught? I think it can, but it can't be taught to people that don't want to be taught. And like I have my newest associate, she's been my resident for 4 years, and I met her the first day. She wanted to be taught. Now she's in my office. She's killing it. She wanted it.
you said that at the beginning, you were doing it kind of unconsciously.
Yeah.
You just naturally cared about it without knowing it, and it was just you, and you were good at it. Maybe the charisma, maybe the education that you had, the experiences, prior experiences, and so on. Uh, when do you think it became a conscious thing? When did you realize, and you said to yourself, "Look, this needs to become a strategy. This can come from an amateur level to a professional level,
Right.
right?" Do you have a moment, or what were the first few things that you
Yeah.
did consciously to
Yeah.
become an expert on hospitality?
Well, you know about the 4 phases of consciousness, unconsciousness, competency, incompetency,
Yes.
So you're unconsciously incompetent, you're consciously incompetent.
Good.
You're unconsciously competent, then you're consciously competent. So it was a it's not mine, it's Stephen Covey's. It's over, it was a process. But I have a trainer, his name is John O'Connor, and maybe you'll meet him sometime. He's phenomenal. He lives in Denver now, but he was a neurolinguistic programming coach. And I went down, I took his course, and I brought my partner Ray and my wife and his wife. There was a bunch of us went. And it was during that time that Ray said his life changed because he realized what he needed to work on because he never understood it. And then John became a patient, and he was in my office, and he started talking to patients. He was so good. He was better than me at connecting with them, and they thought he was the doctor. And then he spent the day with me. He goes, "You are unconsciously competent." And that was the day. So I knew some things. He actually told me that. So you asked the day, he told me that. And then I wrote the book, and then I realized there's a system to it. And it's so vast, and there's so many things. It's like being a good dentist. How do I become a good dentist? How do I learn how to do a smile design? I can't do it at your 2-day program, Christian. It's more than that.
I have a different opinion than you on whether or not you can. I'm going to politely disagree.
No,
I
it's
think
fine.
I think you can teach hospitality, and you know who changed my mind on this is Chris Ramsey, because I think until you experience true hospitality, like, why do we love Danny Meyer's restaurant so much? Because we've never been made to feel more special in our life. And I had that experience also going to a hotel this past summer in Italy. It changed my life. More money than I've ever spent. And it is the best money I've ever spent because I felt so special. And I think the truth about dental staff, our teams, the truth about our dental teams is that they don't normally get those experiences. So I think we need to give them those experiences to realize how important it is to make someone feel special so that they know what it looks like and they can model it for someone else and for their patients. What do you think about
But
that?
but just to defend Mike, he didn't say it's not teachable. He said it is teachable. You just cannot teach the people that don't want to be taught. If you
Well,
have
that's
a person that
interesting.
Yeah,
And
it is.
can you detect that at the beginning, or is that something you have to learn? Like,
what is the hiring process? What is your
yeah,
tricks on hiring to identify that gift inside the person?
Because who doesn't want to be taught? What does that look like?
Who doesn't want to be taught? Losers. You're losers. They know they're losers. They got to be losers, and they don't want to learn. Then the next level, the Tony Robbins people. They go to Tony Robbins. They come out, okay, burning. We did the fire walk, okay, and they come back all pumped up, and then they want to be good, but 3 weeks later, they're back to their old self. And
Oh,
then there are people like most dentists. I call them the country clubbers. They've made a certain level of success, and they want to keep their football. They don't want anybody to take it away. This is my piece of pie. Don't give it away. And then there are people like on this call. I call you guys the transformationals, transformers. You want to take everything that you know and give it to everybody, and you give everything away. I have Christian. I have all your lectures that you've given me. I mean, you're not worried that I'm going to become Christian Coachman because you're Christian Coachman. I'll be Mike Sonick giving a Christian Coachman lecture. It's very different. So those people give it away. So the losers don't want to know. The conventional ones, only the transformational people really want to know. And those are the people that I seek out to hire. So I don't think everybody can be taught, but I think it's teachable. Okay. Because I taught myself over the time. And and every summer we do a full day in New York City, and we usually we've been to 10 different Danny Myers of restaurants with the whole team. Special
oh
faculty.
wow.
Yeah.
Your
So
team's lucky.
We dropped 10 grand on the one day in New York City.
Oh my God.
The day starts at 9 and it ends at midnight. Okay. Early by your standards, Christian. Okay. You go on no longer. They're exhausted. So, but back to the hiring process. The hiring process is I have one. It's in my book. I also, if you go on my website, it's free. You can download it. And it's very specific. First of all, I know who I want to hire. And so that helps. But I used to interview people and think like if I liked them, I'd hire them. Now you have to apply. We have a very nice Indeed ad. It sort of attracts good people. But we also do something called a culture index. They have to fill that out. And I have Christian's culture index. I'll send you one too. And it gives me a very good overview of how they are. Are they detail oriented? Are they autonomous? Are they social? Are they logical? Are they emotional? Are they fast paced, slow paced? So I don't hire anybody who is it was very emotional, that's slow paced. I don't want them in the office. They gum up the works. So they don't even get an interview. But only a third of the people that apply for a job and send me the resume filled out the culture index. So we've already got rid of 70% of the people. And then once they fill it out, I look at them. It takes me about 4 seconds to look at that and know if I like the person or not, because it's right there. It's a great little tool I use. Then my office manager does a Zoom interview. About 60% don't show up for the Zoom interview. So now we're down to about 10. We're down to about 5% of the people that applied for the job. We've already gotten rid of the 95% that I might have hired. So she does the Zoom interview. She gives a okay to 1 out of the 3. So now we're down to about 2%. Once she gives the okay, so if we got to look at 200 people applied, fill out the culture index, we're down to 2 people. They come in for what we call blink interview. They come in and I meet them. My interview with them is about 92 seconds. All right. If I like them, it's longer, but they come in, they meet 2 or 3 of the people. And then that's where I know, are they on time? Are they clean? Are they neat? And I do the blink test. Hair. Okay. If there's wash, is it clean? Eyes. Do they look me in the eyes? Do their fingernails neat and clean? Okay. So I make my staff do their fingernails every Monday. They got to cut them. So, I mean, that's important. Are their clothes? Are their shoes clean? And if they come in with scuffed up shoes, dirty clothes, and they're still wearing their scrubs from the previous job, I go, they don't make it. Their fingernails are this long. They go, I'll cut them. They don't make it. So that's a very quick. So and then the 3 or 4 people look at them. If we like them, they come back for a half day. So for about every 300 or 400 people that apply, we hire 1 person. So it's very hard.
Mike, that's so interesting. That's so interesting that you talk about the aesthetics piece, because I think it's something that maybe it's like a secret that some people know about, but I know for me, I actually didn't know that. And to the point that I felt like I had to work so hard in dental school that I had to focus so entirely on my school that I actually took a mirror. I took my mirror outside of my dorm room at NYU because I thought that if I focused too much on my looks, I would nitpick, I would want to get highlights, I would want to do all these things. And so I actually intentionally ignored my looks. But then I got into the real world and I started a company and I was like, man, if the way I present myself shows the world how I care about my company and my people, but I don't think people talk about this and the importance of putting yourself together.
Well, I mean, there's so much research on this, even if you just look at beauty, I mean, the study of beauty, there's a ton of stuff about this. The best looking people get the best jobs, the highest paying jobs. When you look at a lot of like the presidents of the United States, most of them are, I think it's like over 5'11" or something. Most of them are generally looked at as being good looking. Like, it makes a difference. It makes a difference for sure. I think for example, I know a lot of speakers that have great research. They have great cases, but they're boring and they're like not great to look at. I don't know if that sounds bad, but like, they're just like don't have the right body positioning, and they don't seem that they're confident, even though they may be run this department at this university and they have 7 PhDs and stuff, but I don't even want to listen to them because they're not interesting.
It sets you back. It really does. But you know what? This is where I was of the belief 10 years ago that dental school sets you up for success. All you have to do is go to dental school, be the best clinician you can, and that's what I did. And maybe it's just like immigrant mentality. And the real world came, and I was like,
think that's kind of how it used to be back in the day with education in general, was go to school, get a degree, and you'll kind of be okay, which it was like that, I think. Like even my dad said, and I've talked about this on the podcast before, when he got out of school in 1976, he just put up dentist on the front of his building and people started walking in, It was like things were different.
Sometimes I think that we need to put together this modern education. Like, Mike, we need this. Like, every dental student needs this handbook that you've built on how to create a patient experience. Kyle, every patient needs your entire playbook on how to get a hold of your mental health and be able to survive in this world as a dentist. Christian, everyone needs your playbook. Like, the physical playbook. Like, we need to, like, this is kind of like the future of education I see is like, yes, it's harder than ever, but people stand a chance if they have access to the right resources so that they can understand Mike's going to help you, Christian's going to help you.
But the information is out there. It's just about wanting. It's being this transformative, natural person that you're ready to transform yourself. I think that's the most important thing to teach, more important than anything else. If you're not naturally a transformative person, can you change yourself from the
That's the
person
real
that was
question.
yes, the person that Mike interviewed 5 years ago, that he was able with his experience to identify as a non-transformative person? Can this person do something, realize that, and change that deep part of themselves to become a transformative person, to want to learn and change?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Then so I think it's what Kyle always says. I think it starts with awareness and having the
Mm.
right mentorship. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah. It's awareness and it's honesty,
Mhm.
telling the
But do
truth.
you think, Mike, that most people that are not transformative, that they're not open to change, do they actually realize? Because I feel like many times they think they are open,
Yeah.
and they think they are changing, and they think they are improving, and they think that they are learning, right? That's why
Yeah.
they don't.
It's hard. I mean, I was talking to my wife, Carol, who and she goes, because she wants me to slow down. And, I'm going faster. So I like this. She goes, "When are you going to slow down? When are you going to retire?" I go, "Probably not." So I blocked out 8 weeks. I go, "Wherever you want to go for these 8 weeks." Okay. So, and we were walking in New York the other day. She goes, "Your election all over." She goes, "Do you just like to get up and talk and because you're an actor?" I go, "Yeah." She goes, "Do you think you make a difference?" I said, "Not that much, but I get 3 or 4 letters a week from people saying, 'I heard you 4 years ago, and your book is a guide. Thank you so much.'" I don't get a lot, I see hundreds of people, but I do touch some people, and I think it's important. I know my team. I watch my team who I've hired. I hired great people, and they all have become more successful after they've been working in our practice for a while. And
Mhm.
I don't
Mhm.
fire anybody. They leave on their own account. Very rarely do people leave
Wow.
there. I
Mhm.
can't remember last time I fired somebody. But people like I had somebody that has some mental health issues and going through some things, and my partner says that she's gotta go. And I said, "Nope, I'll work with her." And she actually went to Tony Robbins, and one of the things that she had to do was write a letter to someone she wanted to mentor her. So she wrote me a letter, and she goes, "Will you be my mentor?" I said, "Yeah, but you may not like that." I said, "Because I'm gonna call you." So she made herself vulnerable, and now she's head of hospitality, and she's killing it. I mean, and that's the right spot for her. So we have
Mhm.
it's a very important I don't know if you know EOS training, but you wanna put the right people in the right seats. So I move people around all the time. Most of the people
Even
are
just
nice people.
having a head of hospitality is crazy,
Yeah,
right?
it's
I mean,
amazing.
Uh,
Yeah.
that's so different than any other dentist.
She puts
Mhm.
that now on her card, on her we're trying to figure out the name, but in this last year, she bought me like, I always end I don't know if you see my videos, but I end everyone with "Be the gift," because that's the secret of hospitality, be the gift to the people you serve, and the money will take care of itself. You can't be ignorant about money, but it will take care of itself, and,
Mhm.
you don't have to treat people badly. One of my good referrals started being trained in implants. He's trying to steal my patients that I've done implants on to do it, and they all come back to me and go, "I'm not gonna let him do it." He shouldn't do that. It's not a good model for a business. It's not gonna make me feel good about him, etcetera. He could still be busy by doing it ethically. But be the gift. She bought me this bench and it says "Be the gift." And it's a white bench that when you enter our office now, there's this big white bench that says "Be the gift," Michael Sonick. And she gave it to me for my birthday last year. And, like, that's something special. We had Christmas in July. She just did my celebration for 40 years. She put that whole thing together. I didn't expect a 40. I've never had a celebration for an anniversary at work, except on LinkedIn. Congratulations.
How do
Mike,
you you said you
pardon.
don't fire very many people, and you're the first dentist that I've ever heard say that, really, because generally, I think as dentists, we have high hopes. We ourselves tend to be overachievers, right? I mean, to get into dental school, to graduate, to go to residency, do all that, you really have to be an overachiever. And most of our staff wouldn't generally be described as that. Why do you think you have this ability to hire people that are going to do what you want them to do?
Because we do the culture index. So before, I mean, I already profile them. Bless you. And when I hire them, there's 3 more tests they have to take. So I have 4 personality tests.
Okay.
And it's the culture index, it's strength finders, it's Colby, and it's print. So
Oh, wow. You do all of them.
I don't do disc. I don't like disc. It's not that accurate. And so not only do I do them all, but I put them on a piece of paper that's about this big. And with their name. And so where everybody works, their profile is there. So if I walk up to somebody who's not going to have very good follow through, I'm not going to ask her to do anything for me or him, and then, they look at my survey and they go, I don't want to bother you. Well, I'm never bothered, like if I call you, all 3 of you are never bothered because you're all busy high achievers. If I call you up, I mean, but I've called Christian or texted Christian, he gets back to me immediately. When I asked you to speak, immediately you got back but not everybody's like that, but they can do that to me. But people think I'm busy. They shouldn't talk to me. That's what I do. And so, but there are certain people like my partner, he doesn't like to be bothered because he's very methodical. My partner's a phenomenal surgeon, but he's like a barge. He just moves along very methodically. He's very ethical. He's a great surgeon, and that's what he does. And he manages risk. So that's his area. So the risk part of the practice, he manages. He talks to insurance companies. He pays the bills. He looks at Excel spreadsheets. I hate that shit. I mean, I'm just into the big relation. You probably do too. I'm into the big relationships and talking, and I like to sit there and talk to people. I don't even like doing the dentistry. I become a good dentist, but that's not my passion. My passion is connecting.
Mike, are all 4 of the tests that you make your employees take in your PDF, the hiring process, online?
I think so. Maybe the print may not be there, but if they're not there, let me know, and I'll put them in there. I should update that too.
This
But
topic is so relevant right now because everybody loves to complain about staff right now.
Don't they?
Yep.
You hear it from dentists all the time. I mean, it started 2019, really went crazy during the pandemic. We did have people leave the profession in the pandemic.
Right.
A lot of hygienists that were like, why am I doing this shit anymore? It's what you are teaching is what every dentist wants right now.
Yep.
I run a mental health course and mastermind and talk to dentists all around the world about mental health. And I'll tell you, 80% of what they complain about is team.
Right. Yeah.
And
So
20% is patients.
I give this program, as a full day. I could do 2 days, but I was asked whenever they start with the staff. I don't do a full day program in hiring. I probably should. It's not sexy, but but maybe you can help me with the title. But it does. I don't know anybody that likes their team. Almost nobody likes their team. I mean, very few. It's like 5-10%. They say the same thing to you. I love doing dentistry. I just hate my staff.
Yeah.
Mike, for our listeners, I want to highlight 2 things. One is go to michaelsonic.com/hiring process because this is incredible. Like you have the Danny Meyer's formula essentially plus the 4 personality tests, which I just want to flag one thing, which is that in tech companies, it's actually illegal to hire if you can be sued based on hired on some of these tasks like DISC. So the fact that we don't have those sorts of restrictions, in dentistry as small business owners, it's a huge advantage because it can show you so much and you can avoid so much pain by just understanding who you're getting in bed with. And so I just think that if you go to michaelsonic.com/hiring process, this could save you so much pain. And number 2, for our listeners, you mentioned EOS, which me, Kyle, and Christian know very well. I think it was something that changed my life at 2 fronts. So I want to just briefly share for our listeners, because you're clearly a visionary, right? EOS has basically this this operating framework. So for everyone who doesn't feel like they have a good hold of running their business, this changed my life about a year ago. And I think it's at everyone else on this call to realize that you need an operating system to run your business. It's not just like, trying to figure it out. And that can make you thrive as an artist or a dentist. So can you tell us a little bit about your experience with EOS?
Yeah, I'm also a member of something else called strategic coach. I don't know if anybody knows about that, but it's something run by Dan Sullivan. And I go every 3 months, and actually, I'll put you in touch with him. I go every 3 months to Toronto and spend 2 days in a room with other entrepreneurs. It's an entrepreneurial group. And that's where I learned about EOS. That's where I learned about Peter Diamante, this summit, Abundance Summit, where I'm going to out in California in a few weeks. And I learned about a lot of technologies of people who run huge operations. There aren't many dentists there. There are very few. A few doctors, plastic surgeons, but it's mostly businessmen that have huge operations. And that's where I learned about EOS. And we did it in our office. We don't do it anymore, but we do it. We take the principles. So I've read all their books from Winters and what's his name? Mark Winters and he endorsed my book. Can't remember it. Gino Wickman. And yeah. So we once a week, our executive team meets and we look at the numbers. We look at our production. We look at our quarterly rocks. We look at our visions for the year, and we sort of break down all the things that we do. And then we share that vision with our regular team. And so we have a vision for the year. We have a vision. We have quarterly rocks, which is we have 4 or 5 things that we need to do each quarter. Like, everything that I've accomplished in my life in the last 10 years has come from a quarterly rock. So like, writing my book, that was a rock that I had to do that year. And so now I have different rocks. Now one of my rocks now is that I just went back to martial arts. So I want to do Taekwondo. And so I got to get fit. So I get my leg up. It doesn't get up very high like it used to, 25 years ago. So, and I'm working out with 14-year-olds. All right. So I'm like 50 years older than the people in there. It's like Kramer in a dojo in Seinfeld. And, but it's important that we define your goals and that the team knows what the goals are. Because most of the dentists come in their office in the middle and go, how come the patient canceled? What happened here? What happened here? What happened here? So I have a form for every problem in our office. We have a manual, an operating manual. It's this big. We don't look at it, but every time there's a problem, if it's not in the manual, we create a system for it. A big one is this employee is mad at this employee and they're having a fight. Okay, they don't come to me anymore because I'll give them a form. I go, fill it out. I go, what happened? What's the cause? What's your part in it? Okay. And what are you going to do to fix it? Okay. If I hand to both of them, I go, come back and let's talk. I did that a few times. They don't come to me anymore. They know it's them. It's their fault.
You're
Stop the
teaching
victim
them
mentality.
how to fish. You're not giving them the fish.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Yeah. Especially
When
here's that.
as I'm hearing Mike talk, what I'm kind of boiling everything down to is he's thinking about his business as a business when most dentists don't think about their practice as a business. They think if I'm just the best dentist in the world clinically, everything's just going to kind of work out. And Mike's taken everything from the business world and applied it to dentistry. Like there's no secret to that. And I think there's a negative perception of that in dentistry. Christian has helped to kind of dispel that. And there's been others that have helped to dispel that, but it's still, business is still kind of a 4-letter word in dentistry.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's talking about business in dentistry now. It became very clear, dentists are learning. There's more courses than ever. And people know nowadays, different than 20, 30 years ago, that it's a topic that they need to manage. And if they don't, they are okay working for others that are managing it. Right. I think that what Mike is doing is, yes, if you want to own a successful practice, you need first to be a great clinician, period. That's a given. But you need to look at the business as a business. But the new version of this perception is looking at a business as a consequence of human relationships, right? It's because you can look at a business as a business and be so wrong and so far from everything that Mike is saying. It's like constantly challenging yourself. How can I become better creating systems to improve relationships, right? And I think
Yeah.
that's what you do, Mike.
Yeah, we all do it, you know,
Yeah.
and, but
No, but
I'm very strategic about it now, and I never
exactly,
take it I don't take it personally, and I look at if I can go back to something that you said, Ingrid, I forgot who said it, maybe you, Kyle, a problem. You're talking about consequences and you're talking about complications. I look at every complication as an opportunity to grow my business
Mm,
because most people run from complications. I don't
Or you
wanna
got a
talk about.
growth mindset,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, you
yeah,
and
wanna
not
because
everybody
that's
does.
when you make it better. And, I've had some amazing experiences where things have gone really badly, you know, because I do a lot of surgery.
Like everybody has.
Yeah,
yeah.
and people, like, think I'm the greatest, you know? So,
Mhm.
there's
I
one
think
other thing.
something oh,
Go
sorry,
ahead.
Mike, go on.
No, go ahead.
But just not just stuff to finish, Ingrid, on this. It's like uh, everybody. You know what I just said is pretty obvious. You know, it's based on relationships. You say that it's
Yeah,
of course it's we all are trying to improve relationships, but you mentioned you have a very strategic vision of it. So when you see a problem, you're very pragmatic about it. You say like, there's a problem. I need to develop a solution. I need to develop a system. How can we avoid this from happening again?
right.
It doesn't work just saying, let's not do this again. That doesn't work, right? We need to have a system. And if I don't know, I need to look outside for a solution. I need to be trained. I need to adapt to my reality. I need to create my own protocol for this problem. I need to write it down on a piece of paper, and then I need to onboard my team on this philosophy, this system, this protocol, right? So and that's why you wrote a book, because you need to structure the information. Otherwise, it's just blah 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 about the topic that is pretty obvious, right?
Yeah,
Hospitality is obvious, but
yeah.
nobody's doing it in a
Yeah,
systematic way.
they don't even do it in the hospitality business,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Exactly.
100%. I think something, Christian, you mentioned that everyone knows about business. We obviously, I think something cool is that everyone in this call right now comes from a different generation, and I don't think my generation of dentists knows that. Like, I really don't. I think that we're living in a world where at least the dentists that I know are like really disempowered. Like most dentists, I went to NYU, largest dental school, I'm pretty sure right now in the country, and most dentists that I know, not all, right? Some are thriving, but most don't own practices and they feel really disempowered. And I think something that I for sure thought business was dirty, like 100%, like until a couple years ago. And even when I started the business, honestly, even Kyle, like a couple days ago, I called Kyle and I was like, I feel weird selling. It feels dirty. And I think something that a message I want to tell to our listeners that I'm still realizing is that the artist doesn't thrive until the business infrastructure is set up. The business has to support the artist. You cannot do great art if you don't have a good business. And I think
You
dentists need to
you can.
internalize that.
You can if you work for somebody else. You can make
Who
that conscious
who
decision.
has a good business? Who has a good business? But the person who you work for, they have to have a thriving business so that you can focus on your art.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
It's hard though sometimes if your goals aren't aligned, so you gotta be in the right spot, you know? I've had 5 or 6 associates and, over the years before I knew how to do this process. It has lately it's been okay, but early on, I didn't know what I was doing, so I just hired someone who was a good clinician, I liked them, and,
Mhm.
after about 4 or 5 months, they would burn out, because if you look at my practice, go, "Oh, yeah, I wanna join that practice, this looks great, got a nice website, you're busy, you're well known," and then they come in and go, "Yeah, but it's work." They will I mean, it's like Sunday morning, I'm in my basement putting together a lecture. Okay, are you doing that? No. It's not go home at 5 o'clock. Well, you can, but it's not it's a lot of work. I mean, Christian, you're always on a plane going somewhere. Kyle, you are too. I don't know, you, Ingrid, but we're all working really hard, but
Yeah,
we like it. So we're
yeah,
lucky.
yeah,
I really have a tremendous amount of gratitude that I have this opportunity to be able to do whatever I want to do and create
yeah,
it. But we all do, but most people don't know that.
A
They
lot of
don't.
people don't see work as giving you purpose. They see it as a means to fuel the rest of your life. But I think the truth is if you do really good work, it's your purpose and you love it. You do it in your free time. You do it on vacation. You do it on the beach.
Yeah, if you look at all the longevity research, I'm sure you guys all look at that stuff too. But I think one of the most important things is it's not diet or exercise, but it's seeing a really positive future that's more positive than your past. You're having a greater future. So most people who are my age, like when people say, "Why don't you retire?" I go, "Yeah, that's the end of my life." What am I going to retire from? My life? I mean, become a good at pickleball or something? It's one thing we haven't talked about is core values. I just want to mention that we most businesses have them, and we define them for our business. We did that in the US, and they're on our website. So when I interview somebody, I ask them, have they looked at our website and they looked at our core values? And if they have, that's cool. And that's how I figure out if someone is working or not. Usually, if there's a problem in the office or in anybody in my relationship that I have with anybody, it's a problem in core values. So we have 5 core values: integrity, integrity, health, being a good teammate, being servant-hearted, and I don't remember it. And it's teammates, servant-hearted, health, and I don't know. Anyway, whatever they are. So that's well, I know my own core values. So if one of the core values is not working, we can sit down and talk with the person. The only reason that I ever fire anybody is integrity. So if I catch somebody stealing, or or shooting up in the basement, or putting nitrous on between patients, something like that, that's a problem. But we don't have that going on. Those, by the way, I've had those problems. I've had people steal from me. I've had people, do drugs in the office and things like that. It's big. And that's one of the reasons that we're able to attract good people is we talk to them about those core values, and you learn that there at that point in time, because most of us will end up hiring someone we like and that they think they're nice. And like I had an interview, we do yearly reviews, and I review some of the people. And yesterday I reviewed the person who's head of our study club, and I hired her. She used to work in Macy's she used to run a department, and Macy's, right? Is that national? Says
Yep.
Coach.
Yeah.
And she was really nice, and she was good at sales, but she had the sales personality, and she used charm. And one of the things that Harrison Ford was interviewed a number of years ago, and they go, "What's the most overrated trait in a human being?" He goes, "Charm." And when I read that, I'm thinking like, I don't want someone to be charming. I want them to be honest. And she was always charming. And so I called her on it. She didn't like it because she was very charming. And yesterday we talked, and since I made her head of the study club, which was 9 months ago, she's thriving because now she can't be charming. She's actually got to produce. And I can see it. Her whole life has changed because she's following some of the different core values, which is being open and honest and communicating. And that's really cool when you get to see that happen. So the people I've made the biggest impact are the people that work in my office. And my patients, of course, by getting them healthier, but the people that work in my office, that's where I see the changes. Dentists, it's harder to do. And about your generation, Ingrid, one of the problems that your generation faces is digitization of the world. And I know there's a company called DSD, and but there's
I have
also
nothing to do with it.
but we have this, and everybody's got one of these. Okay, we got 4 billion of them, and more than that now. Probably close to 6 billion in the world, and everybody's on it. And that's what a relationship. They're not doing relationships. So now we have artificial intelligence, and so that is getting in the way of hospitality. You can't do digital hospitality. I mean, you can. I mean, in one of the restaurants in New York, there's a camera that looks at you when you come in, and it goes into Google, and they know who you are. And then when you come in, they go, hello, Dr. Coachman, good to see you here. I mean, that's something that you could do. We do that too. We look online and get people's pictures before they come in so we can greet people by name even before we even meet them. So sort of look at this, but that's not really where it takes place. It takes place right here. It's here. So we're gonna have a big fight with artificial intelligence coming in, taking over, and thinking I can digitize my whole business, and that's going to marginalize the human relationship. But there's still a tremendous need for that. People want to be loved and cared for. That's they just want that. It's
I
really
think,
practice.
as someone who's been involved with AI for a long time, I think that AI will make human relationships even more valuable.
Mm-hmm.
It'll make in-person interaction even more valuable. It'll make
Yeah.
that X factor with people even more valuable.
Yeah, yeah.
I always tell everyone on our team that the number one thing anyone wants is to feel heard. And AI could never make someone feel heard, I don't think.
Yeah. What's your favorite word, Ingrid?
Oh, that's an interesting question.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what it is. It's Ingrid.
It's your name.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
Want to be called our name over and over again.
Mm, mm, mm. I asked Mike before, can you break down hospitality into certain chapters or factors or characteristics, right? And as I was listening to you, Mike, I was highlighting some topics here, not only on this 1 hour interview, but during all the years that I've been interacting with you and also on your book. And I wanted to quickly just go over the characteristics that I wrote here to see if you agree or if you would add something or remove. If I would uh, summarize hospitality into the main factors to generate quality on hospitality, first one, you need to be very good on what you do beyond hospitality. That means quality, right? Restaurant needs to have great food. Dentist needs to be a good dentist. So that is part of hospitality. It's not, otherwise it's just bullshit, right? So you need quality. You need to be ready, right? You need to anticipate the problem. Great hospitality means anticipation.
Right.
Great hospitality means charisma. You need to have charisma. Most of the team players, they need to have some level of charisma. You need to allow people to be the best version of themselves, right? Neat and cleanness, you mentioned that as well. Style, I think style has a big part on hospitality. It doesn't mean that you need to be sophisticated, stylish. Everybody has their own style. You just need to find your style, be comfortable with your style, be good at your style, right? Communication skills, huge part of hospitality. Uh, um, Genuinely caring. That's probably something that is very hard to teach. We see people that have that natural gift that just love to care. And then the final one is to be genuinely humble, to be able to serve. You cannot serve for real if you don't have this humbleness inside of you, that you are just ready to serve. You want nothing else than to be there for the person and to allow the person to have the best moment that they can have at that moment, right? So these were the highlights from everything that I learned from you. I don't know if you agree with them, if you add something to this list.
They are important. Everything you said is important, and it's really just to be present, with the people that you serve, and to be open and honest, and to
Mm-hmm.
practice with integrity. And that means I remember I had an experience my first year in practice. I call it my Hans Sin moment. I had a patient that needed surgery. It's 1985, and I had no money. And he says, my insurance doesn't cover it till next year. So I said, okay. He goes, but I'll do it now if you think it's really necessary. So at that moment, it was my first year in practice. I called that my Hans Sin moment. Am I going to practice with integrity? Not. I said, no, we'll see you next year. You're going to be fine. Just come in every few months. He died 2 months later of a massive heart attack at age 42. And, when he died, I'm thinking like, wow, there's a strong message right there. And I treated his wife too. It's like, I always want to practice with integrity and be there. And I find that that's not always the case, because we have to practice with integrity and really always be there to serve. And I think you all on this call do that. It's just, we're in a service business, and that's what hospitality is, going above and beyond. I mean, we can give good service, but hospitality is that little extra special part that goes on top. It's not just processing a credit card. It's just finding something. Patient didn't have a ride today. Just today, before I did a full mouth case right before this morning, before I came in here, patient didn't have a ride. So we sent a car service to her, and then we took her home in a car service. And one of my team members is going to spend the afternoon with her at her condo, make sure she's okay until her boyfriend comes later tonight. I mean, how many offices do that? I mean, I don't. How often do I do that? I mean, I've done that 3 times in 40 years. I mean, she's been a little flaky, the lady, but she'll always remember that, and then she'll go through the rest of treatment.
Oh, and the referrals that'll come with it, and how she's going to talk about you and your team is.
Also, just the energy of the world. Your patients are very lucky, but that's also how I strongly believe that's how the world works. You put good into the world and good energy, and you get good energy back.
Yeah. And don't worry about the competition. You're not in competition with anybody.
I've got 52 dentists in my building. Not like in my city or in my, county, in my building. And a lot of us are good friends. Sometimes they come to my practice, sometimes they come there, sometimes they start at my practice, they end up at my friends, sometimes they start at my friends, they end up at ours. Like, doesn't
So
matter.
a quick funny story to end. I just gave a lecture at the Ritz-Carlton in Atlanta, and that's where I've stayed. I've stayed there many times before, and I like to stay at nice hotels. Ritz-Carlton, Four Seasons are 2 really nice hotels in Atlanta. There are a couple other ones, but those are nice. And so I was staying there about 8 years ago. I was down there, and I visit my friend Abe, who I've been visiting, who's sick now. He's got ALS. So I go down about every 3 months to see him. I gave a lecture to this group, and then saw Abe. And about 8 years ago when I was at the Ritz, I wanted to go out for lunch, and I went to school at Emory. So I knew the town. So I went to an old place that I used to go to in another community, and I had lunch, and then I went back to the Ritz. And I go up to the room, and, being in the hospitality business, I'm always thinking about it. I put the key to the room, and my key doesn't work. So I'm thinking like, okay, that's it. And now I can go down there and complain. But I didn't want to complain. Don't try. I go, Mike, don't have an attitude. Walk to the front desk. So I go to the front desk at the Ritz after my key doesn't work. Come back from lunch. I go, my key's not working. And they look at my key. They go, well, you're staying at the Four Seasons. So I go, oh, where's the Four Seasons? Because I'm not good with direction. So I'm good at a lot of things, but I'm terrible at driver and I'm terrible at direction. So I'm not one of those dentists that races Porsches. So they go, it's like 2.5 miles away. I go, okay. Can I walk? They go, it's a long walk. They go, but we have a car service. Let us take you there on us. So I'm staying at their competition and they're
Wow.
sending a car service. So did they get anything back from that? Yeah, because when I lectured there Saturday, I told that story at the Ritz, and the service there was phenomenal. It was unbelievable. Now I'm staying at the Ritz most of the time because they offered me to take them to their competition. So that's pretty cool, as opposed to that dentist that I've been working with for 30 years and now is trying to steal my patients, which is silly because now the patients want to leave him. They're coming back to me. They go, they're asking me to recommend another dentist, which I'm not doing. But,
Yeah.
I'm thinking like, I'm going to take him out to, no, I'm going to call him. I'm going to say, hey, this is bad. I'm not going to say anything. He doesn't. He's 52 years old. Okay. So what am I going to do with this 52-year-old guy? Anyway, we have a lot to talk about, but it's really nice. I feel like I'm talking to three soulmates here. I mean, we all have a very similar point of view. It's a very easy conversation.
It was amazing.
No, really amazing. It's good to know you for so many years, and to watch you. And I've watched you too, Kyle. From afar. We all sort of know each other.
Yeah.
It's sort of cool.
We should
And now
plan.
that
We
like
should
you,
plan
we-
sooner. We should plan a continuation of this conversation, maybe going a little bit deeper on the book and going over some chapters. I think that can be a second edition.
Yeah. Where can people get your book, Mike?
Well, the book's on Amazon, and people who what I want to, I give these courses, and I don't want to be like Tony Robbins. They go home and what are they going to do? So what I've done is I have the book, and then they can go on. They can follow me on YouTube, which I think is Mike Sonick. And every Wednesday I put out a 5 to 8 minute YouTube on some aspect of this conversation, and it's for the team. So my team watches it every Wednesday. They have lunch, they sit around, they watch it. They've gotten better at hospitality, so I recommend that the teams watch that. And then they can also download. I have a course, an online course. It's 10 chapters. It's like $497. It's inexpensive. It comes with a workbook, and it's 10, 15-minute videos of me talking about various aspects of what's hospitality. And then, so that's to be done like once a month with the team. You do an hour meeting, you do 15 minutes, you watch the video, then you fill out the workbook and then talk about it. I'm actually doing my own course with my team. It's really weird is when I'm in a room with 20 people and I'm talking on the video and I'm sitting there, it's a little creepy for me, but they're looking at it like somebody else talking. They're paying attention to the person on the screen because I'm an authority. They say, what become an authority?
The power of the camera.
Well, yeah, you power the camera, you get a PowerPoint presentation, you give it like 1,000 miles from your home and your authority. So they can do that. And then, I also come in and do team building exercises and all that stuff. So all that's on the website.
Well, that's an incredible gift. Thank you for putting that together for everyone, Mike.
Oh, no, it's my pleasure. It's my passion. I love it.
Yeah. We'll have to have you back on.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
So where can people find you? You mentioned your website. Is it michaelsonic.com?
Yep. Or they can email me at mike@michaelsonic.com, or they can call me. Everything's out there. Everything's on my website, phone numbers and everything.
Love that.
203-209-7029.
Perfect.